My name is Elena Brooks. I'm 32 years old. And this is the story of how sibling rivalry didn't just break my family, it burned every bridge we had left, one betrayal at a time. If you enjoy real-life stories like mine, don't forget to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss what happens next. People always imagine that sibling rivalry is harmless, a little competition, a little jealousy, just kids being kids. But the truth is, rivalry becomes something darker when it's fed by adults who don't realize the power of the seeds they're planting. My brother Liam is 2 years younger. Growing up, we weren't enemies, not at first. We shared Saturday morning cartoons, backyard forts, and whispered secrets under blankets when the lights went out. But even then, I noticed the small differences. The small divides. When I brought home A's on my report card, my parents would smile and say, "Good job, sweetie." When Liam brought home the same grades, they'd clap, brag, call relatives, and tell him he was destined for greatness. It wasn't enough for me to succeed. It only counted if he did. My mother, Patricia, loved her children, I never doubted that. But she loved the idea of Liam more. The golden son. The boy who would carry our family name. She told everyone he was brilliant, sensitive, gifted. She never said what I was. Only what I wasn't. You're strong, Elena. You don't need as much attention. You're independent, Liam. Well, he needs us more, so I learned to shrink myself so he could shine. By the time we were teenagers, it wasn't just favoritism, it was imbalance. When Liam skipped studying to play video games, Mom would tell him, "You work so hard already." When I did the same, she would say, "I expect better." My father, Daniel, wasn't as obvious about picking sides, but even his silences had weight. He believed in peace, not conflict, and choosing peace usually meant letting my mother's opinions become the final truth. Still, I kept trying. I encouraged Liam, I helped him with homework, I celebrated his wins, and I ignored the sting when he didn't celebrate mine. But everything changed when we entered adulthood. Liam struggled in college, dropping classes and switching majors. I worked 2 jobs, earned scholarships, and graduated with honors. I stayed in our hometown, helping my dad with his bookkeeping business while Liam drifted from city to city, job to job, relationship to relationship. Every time he failed, every time he crashed, my parents cleaned up the mess, and every time I succeeded, they barely blinked. When I was 29, Dad had a stroke. Not fatal but life-altering. He could no longer run the business alone. I stepped in immediately, managing paperwork, calling clients, arranging schedules. Liam didn't come home until 3 weeks later. He walked in with flowers, tears in his eyes, and the title of devoted son already waiting for him, like a coat my mother draped over his shoulders. "Thank you for coming," Mom whispered, hugging him tightly. "We need you so much." I had taken unpaid leave from my job to keep the business alive, but that wasn't something she saw. Dad recovered slowly, but not fully. He walked with a cane, his speech softened, his world shrank to the walls of our home, and that's when the real trouble started. One October evening, as the leaves turned brittle gold, Dad called me into his study. His voice was weak but determined. "Elena," he said, "I want you to take over the business permanently. You've kept it alive. You've earned it." Emotion rose in my throat. He finally saw me, really saw me. But no moment of validation in this family came without consequences. 2 days later, Liam found out. I still remember the look on his face, shock first, then confusion, then something darker, something like betrayal. "Dad promised I'd inherit the business," he said, voice trembling. "You can't let her take it." Mom stepped beside him immediately. "Daniel, we discussed this. Liam will run it when he's ready. Elena can help, but what?" Dad cut in, his tone firmer than I'd heard in months. "She's capable. She's responsible. She's earned this." Liam stared at me with eyes that no longer held brotherly warmth. "Just threat. You knew about this," he whispered. "I didn't ask for it," I said quietly, but he didn't believe me. From that day on, something shifted. Something that had been simmering quietly cracked open, releasing years of resentment neither of us had ever spoken aloud. And none of us realized then that Dad's decision would be the spark that finally set our family on fire. Because betrayal doesn't always come from strangers. Sometimes it's born under the same roof. Liam didn't talk to me for 3 days after that conversation in Dad's study. Not really. He ate at the same table, scrolled on his phone in the same living room, moved through the same house. But the easy small talk we'd always had, jokes about shows, complaints about traffic, was gone. In its place was a silence sharp enough to cut. Mom noticed, of course. She always noticed when something affected Liam. "He's just processing," she said one night as we loaded the dishwasher. "This has been a big blow to him." A blow? I stared at the plates in my hands. "Dad asking me to run the business is a blow," she sighed. "You know what I mean. He's always believed the business was his future." "He believed that," I said quietly, "because you told him it was." She closed the dishwasher harder than necessary. "I encouraged him. That's what parents do." "No," I replied. "You promised him things Dad never did." Her eyes flashed. "Don't twist my words. Elena, your brother has struggled. He needs something to hold onto." "So do I," I said. "I'm not a placeholder, Mom." There was a flicker of guilt, then the same defensive tightness I'd seen my whole life. "You've always been strong," she said. "Liam isn't built like you." There was no version of this conversation where she suddenly realized she'd been unfair for 20 years, so I swallowed the hurt and scrubbed a pan that was already clean. That night, lying awake in my old bedroom, I heard voices through the thin walls. Mom's voice, Liam's voice, low, urgent. "She's taking everything," he hissed, "and you're just letting it happen." "Your father is sick," Mom said. "Pushing him will only make it worse." "You mean you won't push him?" he shot back. Silence, then a weary, bitter sound from my mother. "You know how he is with her. Once he's made up his mind, so that's it," Liam said. "He gets to choose her over me." I held my breath, waiting. Mom didn't say no. She didn't say of course not. She just said, "We'll figure something out." Those 4 words crawled under my skin like ants. Not "we'll accept his wishes." Not "we'll support your sister." "We'll figure something out." Here's where things got complicated. The next few weeks blurred into a loop of work and caregiving. I split my time between my apartment and my parents' house, gradually taking over the day-to-day operations of the business. Clients called me instead of Dad. Vendors emailed me. I signed checks using the authority he'd given me. Liam watched all of it with tight-lipped resentment. One afternoon, I came back from a meeting to find him at Dad's desk, scrolling through spreadsheets. He didn't look up when I walked in. "What are you doing?" I asked, looking at the numbers. He said flatly, "Is that a crime now?" "It's not about crime," I said. "Dad asked me to manage this." He snorted. "Dad asked you because you were standing in front of him when he got scared." The word stung. "You weren't here," I said before I could stop myself. His head snapped up. "I had a job, you had options," I replied. "You chose not to show up until it was almost too late." His eyes went cold. "You always think you're better, don't you? Miss Responsible. Miss Perfect." "I think I did what needed to be done," I said. "That's it." He stood, brushing past me hard enough that our shoulders slammed. "Enjoy your little empire, Elena. Let's see how long it lasts." The next sign that something was wrong came quietly. "An unpaid invoice here." A client confused about an appointment time there. Supplies that should have been ordered but somehow weren't. At first I blamed myself. New role. Too many moving parts. I worked later, triple-checked everything, but the mistakes kept happening. Then one of Dad's old friends pulled me aside after a service call. "Hey kiddo," he said. Voice awkward. "Your brother called me, said you were overwhelmed. That it might be better if I paused my contract until things settled down." My stomach dropped. He said what? The man winced. He made it sound like he was trying to help. "I just thought you should know." That night, I found Liam in the kitchen, pouring cereal like it was any ordinary evening. "You're undermining me," I said. He didn't even pretend not to understand. "I'm correcting a mistake." "Dad's decision?" I asked. "I'm not a mistake. You took advantage of him when he was weak." The accusation hit like a slap. "That's not true." He knew exactly what he wanted. Liam stepped closer, eyes blazing. "He wanted me to have this business. He told me that my whole life, and then you swoop in at the end and suddenly you're the heir." "No, I won't let you rewrite everything." "I'm not rewriting anything," I said, voice trembling. "I'm doing the job he gave me." He stared at me, breathing hard. For a second I saw the boy he'd been, the one who built forts with me, who cried when his favorite toy broke. But that boy was buried under years of resentment neither of us had created, but both of us carried. Finally he said, "Then I guess we're at war." The word hung between us like a curse. I didn't know it then, But that moment, the one where my own brother declared war on me in our parents' kitchen, was the line we crossed and never really came back from. And our parents, they were about to be forced to choose a side. My brother's words, "Then I guess we're at war," echoed through the house long after he slammed the door behind him. I stood in the kitchen gripping the counter, breathing in short, uneven bursts. Of all the fights we'd had growing up, none of them had ever felt permanent. This one did. Something in his voice told me he wasn't bluffing, and I was right. Over the next month, subtle sabotage turned into open conflict. It started with clients suddenly canceling their contracts. Not just one or two, 6 of them, all longtime customers, all claiming they needed a break. I tried to follow up, but their answers were clipped, evasive. One finally admitted, "Your brother said your dad was thinking of stepping back and restructuring." We didn't want to get caught in the middle. My jaw tightened. My dad isn't restructuring anything. He entrusted the business to me. A long pause. "That's not what Liam said." I hung up feeling nauseous. Dad noticed the tension immediately. "Elena, sit," he urged one evening as I sorted through invoices at the dining table. "You're running yourself into the ground." "I'm trying to fix things Liam broke," I said before softening my tone. "I didn't mean Dad. He's turning clients against me." Dad sighed deeply and reached for my hand. "I'll talk to him." "You already tried," I reminded him. "He thinks you made a mistake." For the first time since his stroke, frustration flashed in his eyes. "I may be slower, but I'm not confused. I made the right choice." I nodded, but the ache in my chest didn't ease. Dad believed in me. But belief didn't stop consequences. And Liam wasn't slowing down. The next blow came unexpectedly. I arrived at the office one morning to find the front door already unlocked. Inside, papers were scattered across the floor. Filing drawers pulled open. My desk emptied. My heart slammed painfully against my ribs. Was it a break-in? But nothing valuable was missing. Only my organization was destroyed. Petty, strategic, effective. Liam. As I knelt to pick up papers, my phone buzzed with a message from him. "We'll see how long you last when people realize you're not cut out for this." My hands shook. I wanted to scream. Instead, I locked the door, restacked the files, and forced myself to breathe. Later that afternoon, Mom showed up at the office with a container of soup. She hovered near the doorway like she didn't know whether she was comforting me or spying. "I heard things have been difficult," she said gently. I didn't respond. She set the soup down and folded her hands. "Liam is hurting, Elena. He feels like everything slipped away from him." "He didn't lose anything that was ever promised," I said. "You told him it was." Her mouth tightened. "I encouraged him because he needed encouragement. You've always been strong. You don't break the way he does." I swallowed a bitter laugh. "Everyone breaks, Mom. Some of us just don't do it loudly." She flinched slightly but recovered. "You should talk to him. Find a compromise." I straightened. "Compromise? He's sabotaging the business. Because he's desperate," she insisted. "Which is why you need to be the bigger person." There it was again, the lifelong script. "You're strong, Elena. You don't need as much. Give a little more." I looked at her, suddenly seeing our entire dynamic with painful clarity. She wasn't trying to solve the problem. She wanted to protect Liam's feelings, not the business, not Dad, not even me. "No," I said softly. "Not this time." Her lips parted in surprise. "What? No more bending so he can stand taller?" Her expression hardened. "You're being selfish." I shook my head. "For once, I'm being fair." She left without another word. That evening, Liam returned to the house for dinner. I stayed away, giving the 3 of them space, but around 10 p.m. my phone buzzed with a message from Dad. "Come home, we need to talk." My chest tightened. When I arrived, the atmosphere in the living room was thick and electric. Mom stood with her arms crossed, lips pursed. Dad sat in his recliner, face pale but determined. Liam leaned against the fireplace, jaw clenched, eyes dark. Dad gestured for me to sit. My palms grew clammy. "Elena," he began slowly, "your mother and brother have concerns about the future of the business." There it was. "The ambush concerns," I repeated. Mom spoke first. "Your father's health is fragile. Running the business is stressful. Maybe too stressful for you, too stressful for me," I echoed. "Liam is the one who keeps." Let her finish, Liam said coldly. Mom cleared her throat. "We think Liam should take over the business temporarily, just until things stabilize." My mouth fell open. "You're kidding." Dad closed his eyes, rubbing his forehead. I didn't agree to that. You didn't disagree, Mom snapped. We're trying to save the business by destroying my role in it. Liam stepped forward. Dad always wanted me to run it. Everyone knows that. You taking over was sudden, I said, stunned. Dad couldn't walk without help. The business was collapsing. I stepped in because someone had to. Liam's jaw tightened. You stepped in because you wanted control? Something in me cracked. Control. Or competence? A tense silence followed. Then my brother said the words that sealed everything. I'm not letting you take what should have been mine. His voice was quiet, but it burned like acid. Dad's face fell. Liam, no, Liam said sharply. I'm done pretending. If you won't fix this, I will. He walked toward the door, pausing only to glare back at me. This family won't survive if she stays in charge, he left. The door slammed. The walls shook. And Mom didn't go after him. Dad whispered, I'm so sorry, Elena. I swallowed hard, fighting the sting in my eyes. I didn't know it then, but the worst fracture was still coming. Because once Liam realized manipulation wasn't enough, he decided to use something far more dangerous. The truth our family had buried for years didn't arrive gently. It didn't slip in like a whisper or unravel slowly like an old sweater. It detonated loud, sudden. Catastrophic because Liam chose the moment that would cause the most damage. 3 days after he stormed out of the house, I was at the office early, sorting through the growing mess of client confusion he'd created. My eyes burned from lack of sleep. My phone buzzed nonstop, messages from Dad, from clients, even from Mom, who had shifted from insisting I yield to insisting I be patient with your brother, as if patience was a miracle cure. Then around 10:15 a.m., an email arrived from Liam with the subject line, "The real reason you were chosen." My stomach tightened. I clicked. What he'd attached wasn't a message. It was a document. A birth certificate. My birth certificate. Except it wasn't just mine. It was a version I had never seen. An early one. One that listed a father whose name wasn't Daniel Brooks. My heart slammed hard enough that my chest physically hurt. A few seconds later, another document came through. A paternity test from decades ago, dated when I was barely a year old. Signed by my mother. I froze. The room seemed to tilt sideways. A third message came. You want to know why Dad gave you the business? Because he was trying to make up for everything. Because he owed you. You were never his real daughter. Not by blood. He pitied you. That's all. My vision blurred. No. No, that couldn't be true. I grabbed my phone with shaking hands and called Dad. He answered on the second ring, voice strained. Elena? What's wrong? I couldn't speak. All I could do was choke out, did you know? Silence. A long, heavy silence I felt in every bone. Elena, come home, he finally said. Please, I need you to tell me, I whispered. Is it true? Another long breath. Come home, he didn't deny it. He didn't explain. He didn't say no. And in that moment, the truth hit harder than Liam's cruelty ever could. Dad wasn't just hesitant, he was afraid. I drove home in a fog, gripping the steering wheel so tightly my knuckles turned white. The house came into view. Familiar and suddenly foreign at the same time. Dad was waiting on the porch, leaning heavily on his cane, when I stepped out of the car. I could barely breathe. Tell me he's lying. Dad's face crumpled. Elena, he reached for me, but I stepped back instinctively. Tell me the birth certificate was fake. Tell me the test isn't real. He didn't. He closed his eyes instead, and the truth fell between us like shattered glass. I wanted to wait until you were ready, he said softly. Your mother and I made mistakes. We kept things from you because we thought it was best. Best, my voice cracked. Liam weaponized it. Mom acted like I was the strong one, the one who didn't need anything. Was it because I wasn't yours? He winced. No, never. You were mine in every way that mattered. The test, yes, it was early. Your mother wasn't sure. We were young, we were struggling, she'd had doubts, and I needed to know. But when the results came back, I loved you more, not less. His words were raw, true. But they burned anyway. So I'm not your biological daughter, I said slowly. Mom knew you knew. And you never told me. Dad's eyes glistened. I didn't want biology to define us. I thought it would hurt you. It hurts now, I whispered. He lowered his gaze. I'm sorry. Inside the house, I heard footsteps. Mom appeared in the doorway, hands clasped tightly, face pale. Elena, she said softly. We never meant. But I shook my head. Does Liam know? Her silence was answer enough. How long? I asked. She swallowed hard. He heard us arguing about it when he was 12, we thought he forgot. He didn't forget, I whispered, he waited to use it. Dad sank down into the porch chair, looking smaller than I'd ever seen him. He was jealous, he said weakly. He always thought you were my favorite. I tried to show him I loved you both equally. You didn't, my mother said quietly. Not really. You loved her more because she was the one you fought for. He felt that even if he never said it. The truth was 1,000 tiny knives. I felt suddenly hollow. So this is why he's attacking me, why he thinks I'm taking what's his. Mom nodded. He feels replaced. I was replaced. Liam's voice exploded behind us. I turned sharply. He stood on the walkway. Fury radiating from him like heat, his expression was twisted. Wild with resentment. He must have been watching from the street. You stole my life, he hissed at me. Dad gave you everything that should have been mine. And now we all know why. That's not what happened, Dad said firmly, trying to stand. Liam ignored him. He gave you the business to make up for not being your real father. He gave you his legacy because he felt guilty. I'm his son. I'm the one who should have inherited everything. My chest tightened. Dad loved us both. No, Liam snapped. He loved you. Always you, even when he shouldn't have. His hands trembled with rage. Mom rushed toward him. Liam, stop, no. He shouted, I'm done pretending. He pointed at me. Voice shaking violently. This family was destroyed the moment she walked into it. Dad grabbed his cane, trying to steady himself. Liam, please. But Liam wasn't listening. His final words cut through the air like a blade. Either she leaves the business or I leave this family forever. And in that moment, with the truth scattered like broken glass around us, I knew no matter what happened next, someone was going to be lost. The air around us felt thick, almost metallic, as if the weight of the truth had sucked all the oxygen out of the yard. Liam's words, either she leaves the business, or I leave this family forever, hung suspended, a threat, an ultimatum. And awound all at once. Dad's grip tightened around his cane. Liam, you can't mean that. But Liam's jaw was locked, his eyes burning with something deeper than anger, something like heartbreak mixed with entitlement and years of unspoken resentment. Oh, I mean it. He spat. I won't watch her steal the only thing that was ever supposed to be mine. Mom rushed toward him. Voice trembling, Liam, please, you're hurting yourself. You're hurting all of us. He stepped back from her touch. Don't pretend you don't understand. You knew she wasn't Dad's. You told me I was the one who had to carry the family name. You said I was the future. And now suddenly she gets everything. My stomach twisted painfully. I didn't steal anything from you, I said quietly. Dad made a decision he wouldn't have made if he'd told the truth. Liam snapped. Dad's voice cracked. I tried to protect both of you. Liam whirled on him. You protected her. You always protected her. Even when you shouldn't have. Liam, Dad stepped toward him. But his legs gave slightly. Mom rushed to support him. Seeing Dad struggle finally broke something inside me. All my anger, my confusion, my betrayal, it shrank beneath the weight of something larger, something clearer. This isn't about the business, I said softly. This is about belonging. Liam's breathing grew ragged. What would you know about that? More than you think. My voice shook. I grew up feeling like no matter what I did, it wasn't enough. You got the praise, the attention, the celebration, and I told myself that was okay. Because at least Dad saw me, at least with him, I belonged. He flinched, just barely. And now, I continued, you think I stole that from you. But I didn't. Dad loved you. He still loves you. You just can't see it through all the anger. His eyes glistened briefly before he forced the emotion back down. Don't make this sound noble, Elena. You're not the victim here. I'm not trying to be, I whispered. I'm trying to keep what's left of this family from burning down. He scoffed. It's already burned. He turned to leave, but Dad found his voice, firmer this time. Liam. Stop. Liam paused, his back to us. Dad straightened, leaning heavily on his cane but standing tall. You want honesty? Here it is. Yes, Elena isn't my biological child. But she became my daughter the moment I held her. Blood mattered less to me than showing up. And I showed up. Every day. Liam swallowed, shoulders tight. Dad continued, voice trembling but fierce. You are my son, and I love you, but love does not excuse the way you've treated your sister, or this business. Liam's fists clenched at his sides. If you leave, Dad said softly. That will be your choice, not hers, not mine, along. Aching silence followed, then Liam whispered, I can't do this. He didn't look at any of us. He simply walked to his car, opened the door, and paused just long enough to say, this family chose her. So I'm choosing myself, and then he drove away. The sound of the engine faded down the street, leaving the three of us standing in the quiet aftermath, unsure of what had just broken or what could still be repaired. Mom sank onto the porch step, burying her face in her hands. For the first time, I saw more than denial in her grief. I saw regret. Years of it. Dad lowered himself into the chair, exhausted. I'm sorry, Elena, my throat tightened. You don't have to apologize for loving us, but I should have told you, he whispered. I should have trusted you to handle the truth. I sat beside him, taking his hand gently. I wish you had, but I understand why you didn't. We stayed outside until the sky faded into soft purples and gray. No one spoke. There was nothing left to say not that night. In the months that followed, the business stabilized, slowly, painfully. I rebuilt the client relationships Liam tried to tear down. Dad's health fluctuated. But he seemed calmer, lighter, not carrying the secret he'd held for decades. Mom and I had long, difficult conversations, tears, silences, apologies that were earnest but imperfect. Our relationship didn't heal overnight. But it began to strengthen in ways it never had before. As for Liam, he stayed away, no calls, no visits, no updates. It hurt, more than I expected, because even after everything he'd done, he was still my brother. The boy who once built forts with me. The boy who once held my hand crossing the street. But rivalry had twisted into something sharp and irreversible, and sometimes, even love can't pull someone back from the edge they choose. A year later, at Dad's retirement celebration, I stood beside him in the business he trusted me to carry. He smiled at me with a softness that eased every doubt. You found your place, he said. I nodded. And you gave it to me. No, he replied. You earned it. As I looked around the room at the rebuilt life, the repaired bonds, the quiet absence of my brother, I finally understood the truth. Family isn't destroyed by rivalry. It's destroyed by the refusal to see each other fully, and healed by the courage to finally try.